Rapid reaction as Iowa sees their baseball season come to an end. UCLA too much. Season over for the Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa, including currently, you can hear me on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. We have stations in Iowa City, in Cedar Rapids, the Quad City, Sioux City, and our flagship 106.3 KXNO in Des Moines. You can hear me each weekday from noon to 2, talking the world of sports with Ken Miller. It's called Miller and Condon. Yeah, catchy name. This episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Iowa baseball season comes to an end. The next big story for Iowa football we're going to talk today is the recruiting. What is going to be happening coming up? Speaking of recruiting, there's a big story also brewing here in the state of Iowa as it pertains to Iowa United. One of the top players in the country is playing at the prep level here in the state of Iowa. We'll tell you about him coming up a little bit later on. Plus, Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. He's going to join us a little bit later on. But we begin today with the end, and it is the end of the Iowa baseball season as that comes to a close against UCLA, a game in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. Now, if you would have told most Hawkeye fans coming into the year that this is the way that it was going to be, that Iowa was going to make it to the semifinals, that Iowa was going to finish third in the Big Ten, that Iowa was going to go into the final weekend of the regular season with the chance at a regular season title, most everybody would have taken that. In fact, in a quiet moment, I believe that Rick Keller would have taken that. But the way that it played out, the end of the season, the sputtering of the wheels at the end, that is going to be a big part about this. And one thing that I think we're going to learn looking back is something I've talked about quite a bit. The gap between these upper level teams, what we saw with UCLA on Saturday, what we saw in the series against Oregon and Oregon State, and even to a lesser degree, Washington, a program coming from the Pac-12, is those teams are at another level. And it's a level that Iowa obviously wants to get to, continues to build and try to get to, but overall, it's just a completely different world. I mean, they're playing at a different level. They recruit at a different level, and that's what you're left with. UCLA yesterday, the pitching performance that they got from Barnett, and just how on he was right away, and you can see that initially. It's just Iowa couldn't get anything going. The injury at the top of the lineup to Williamson, and got to see him out there as a pinch hitter late in the game, but still not having him out there at the top of the lineup. And there were just so many guys that at the end of the season, it looked like they were out of gas. You go back to a month ago, and it was just 40 dudes having fun, right? And going out there and playing the game. And they're playing at such a high level. But it was aided by a schedule that just wasn't that difficult. It was aided by overall, luck's not the right word because that's not fair. It was schedule aided. As simple as that. So Iowa finishes here, and people clinging to the hope that when the NCAA tournament selection show comes, that Iowa's going to hear their name called because of that third place finish. And really, that's the only thing that you can be clinging your hope to. A record of 31, 22, and 1. In the Big Ten, not good enough in normal years. Even with that 21-9 conference record. Their RPI now, after the loss to UCLA, sits at number 77. Their non-conference strength of schedule RPI was 190. Strength of schedule in the non-conference, 183. Overall strength of schedule, 95. They're not numbers that are based in being a team that's going to be selected as an at-large for the tournament. And it stinks because for so long, we thought this team was going to get there, right? We thought they were going to get there. And what we're going to see then on Sunday, on the other side, is seeing Nebraska there. And I think that stings even more as Nebraska got the win earlier on Saturday morning against Oregon. And then and a tight affair, finally finishing off Penn State. I think there's going to be, because here's what I wanted to see. And I know I'm not alone in this one. Hawkeye fans, the ones over there in Western Iowa, the ones that are in Omaha, how well that they support the baseball program when they get over there for the Big Ten tournament. I went over years ago when they played, was it Ohio State in the championship game? My daughter was real little at the time, so this is like 8 years ago, something like that. And they took on the Buckeyes, and there were, I don't know, 5,000 people in attendance, maybe more than that, and 98% of them were Iowa fans. Now, of course, it's drivable, and there's a lot of people in Omaha that are Hawkeye fans, so that makes a difference. But what I wanted to see more than anything, with the championship on the line, with an NCAA tournament bid on the line, because that's going to be the case for both Iowa and Nebraska. If we would have got that championship game, what it would have been like at Charles Schwab Field. Now, what the environment would have been like in what would have been certainly a partisan Nebraska, but we're talking about something that would have been banged out. I mean, people would have been coming out of the woodwork. I remember taking that trip over to Omaha. We just kind of woke up Memorial Day weekend. Hey, let's make the drive over here from Des Moines, where I'm based in. So that's something that we were robbed of. Disappointing end. But again, when you look at a big picture and what it was at the beginning of the year to compare to where they finished up, it was a successful year. And after all that they lost a year ago, all those guys that moved on, obviously Brody Brecht at the top of the conversation, at the top of the list from a season ago, and Marcus Morgan, those guys moving on to put together this year doesn't feel good right now. It doesn't. But when you look at a big picture, a really good work out of Coach Heller, the new staff, the new pitching coach, credit to all of them. And springs are fun when Iowa baseball is relevant, aren't they? They give us something to watch, give us something to extend that year out. Because coming up next, it's a quiet time of year. We got football recruiting that's going to be happening. June is a huge month for that. We'll likely be getting a ton of commitments for that. We'll be talking a lot about the future of Iowa football. Also, we'll have basketball recruiting. And a little bit later on, I want to talk about that. So there's a prospect here in the state of Iowa. Oh, he's not a native Iowan. He's not a guy that grew up here or anything like that. But he's playing at Iowa United. That's the program that Dean Oliver is running, former Hawkeye great. And some of the talent that he is bringing in that program, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely immense. This is a top 35 player nationally that they have, and Iowa offered. Now, does Iowa have a shot? We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Speaking of Dean Oliver, his son Isaiah Oliver is just finishing up his junior year at Waukee Northwest High School. He's a pretty big prospect himself. Basketball, he plays it, but football is where it is for Isaiah Oliver. We'll talk about him and more coming up next with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. We'll talk recruiting with Tom, also talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark. That's all coming up. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. He's up next on a bonus edition of Locked On Hawkeyes. Stay right there. We're back with more in a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much we were spending on food delivery services and all those packages that show up on the front door. Now, as my family can budget smarter and save more. I'm a small business owner, and because of that, got different accounts. Juggling multiple apps can be incredibly difficult. Monarch Money makes it easy to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. monarchmoney.com. Tom Kaker joins us next on Locked On Hawkeyes.
Caitlin been blanked as far as a three-pointer in a game since way back against Purdue in 2022. So that's a lot of games, but I didn't have time to go back and listen to Rhonda's report, but I'll take the caller's word for it. Tom Kaker joins us, HawkeyeReport.com, part of On3 / I guess Rivals. What are we calling this endeavor now, Tom?
I have no idea. We're because Rivals is still gonna exist.
Yep.
And On3 is still gonna exist, but I don't know.
Tom Kaker, we'll just call you our regular Friday guest. Covers the Hawkeyes.
How about just like Hawkeye Report?
There you
we'll
go.
Just stick with that.
Yeah,
And
that covers all the bases, no doubt.
Nobody can get mad at me.
Yeah, that's what you want. Let's start with Caitlin Clark. I saw something last night I'd never seen before. Tom, you covered most of her games at home, going back to when she got there. I saw her. She actually had shot an air ball last night. She missed from 3. Never seen that before. I mean, missed everything. Never seen it.
Yeah, she didn't. The scoring wasn't there, but
Nope.
I think she'll be pretty happy with the win.
Absolutely.
I thought she was getting into it with was it Howard?
It was Howard. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she was getting into it with her. Maybe that got her off kilter a little bit, but yeah, just she's still really good.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just weird, right? When she has one, it's because we're just used to her filling it up in a double machine. But they got the win. She had 6 assists, including a couple of those ones that just make you go, "Oh my God, she's so good at seeing the floor."
I said this to a friend of mine the other day. I wonder if we could get somebody to put up a number on will Caitlin Clark average double figures in assists this year? Because I think she might.
Wow. What would that? Any idea?
2-1.
Oh boy.
Plus 250.
Maybe. Well, Trent's got some connections. Maybe he can do some asking around and see if you can get that done. Tom, baseball. Let's start there. Obviously, last night was meaningless. But it's certainly not tomorrow. So what has to happen here? Best case scenario. How can you get Iowa into the dance?
Boy, they got some work to do.
Do they have to win it all?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I was looking at D1 baseball, and they still have them kind of like in the, I don't know, like next 7 out or something. So I was looking at their thing. I was looking at Rocco Miller has a thing, and he had them in the kind of that next group out. So I think they've probably got to beat UCLA and maybe Penn State's going on another miracle run here. Who knows? But Oregon's got to play Nebraska for the right to advance. So maybe something blows up on that other side of the bracket, and you feel good now for Iowa in some sense because you did a bullpen game yesterday, and so you just you've got your aces ready to go. Your two top guys ready to go for this next game. So. And it's must win against a really good UCLA team. So we'll see what they can do. But tomorrow night's going to be huge because you got to get to get to the finals. You got to win the semifinals. So that's their next task.
So obviously, a quick hook on Savory is he'll get the start and then right away to Buter, or knowing that you have to win too. I mean, how do you play this? Obviously, you want to get as much out of your number 2 as possible, but how do you think that Coach Heller is going to be coaching this one, knowing that one win's not enough, but you got to win a championship as well as it pertains to the pitching staff?
I think he's probably going to go with Reese Buter. I think right out of the gate, if he has any struggles, or if there's any struggles, I think that's what they're just going to do. Is both guys are going to be available, both the starters, and then you worry about Sunday on Sunday because you got to win Saturday to get to Sunday. So that's kind of what I think they're going to do is just go with their aces.
Any idea when the game would be on Sunday? Should Saturday go their way?
I don't even know.
Okay,
I think it's 2:00.
Is it middle of the afternoon? When will we see, or when could we see Obermuller again? I can't tell you. I'm impressed with. What was it? Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Right. Today's Friday.
I think. Yeah.
Tom, he gambled on himself. I asked Trent this yesterday because I figured he did when I saw where he was drafted, and then I saw him pitch on Wednesday, and I'm thinking to myself, how is this kid not working his way through somebody's farm system? Obermuller was fantastic. Gambled on himself, struck out 10, walked one, left-handed pitcher. Looks like he's got a chance, Tom, to see that gamble pay off at some point.
Yeah, and I was just looking at The Athletic had their baseball rankings up for the top 100, and I think it was 93 in their list of guys. And late in the season, he was struggling a little bit with some of the issues that he had last year, where it was just walking guys, and where he'd get to third, fourth inning, and then he'd just kind of lose it and end up 3 free bases, and all of a sudden you're in trouble. He has not done that most of this year, but he did the last 2 starts probably. But I think that was a dynamite performance the other night. Boy, he was spotting the ball where he wanted it, and big pitches when he needed it. Yep. And I don't know what his availability would be Sunday, but I will guarantee you he'd probably say, "Coach, I can give you an inning or 2 if you need it." I think that's probably a fair estimate that if they needed something, he'd go to the Hill, and maybe even just you start him and you see, hey, you can give us 2 innings. It might be your bullpen day usually, so maybe give us 2 innings and get out of that. And that's 2 less innings you got to find somebody for if you have to.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I agree.
Over to a little basketball with you, Tom, and Ashton Williamson makes his commitment, a guy that had visited a few weeks back, kind of on a holding pattern, him and Kiza, and we're kind of waiting. Now, Sturtz is there. Sturtz going to play a ton. What kind of role do you see for Ashton Williamson, or is this more of a developmental play for McCollum?
I think they wanted to get a backup point guard. Mm-hmm. I think that was going to be a goal for them to find a guy that, and the bonus is he's a guy that you can also develop. He was a freshman last year, so he's going to get an opportunity to develop, learn from Bennett Sturtz, and he may not be the guy moving forward. You don't know, but you'll at least get a full year working with the kid and finding out, he's going to be our guy, or B, we're going to have to go to the portal and try and find a point guard next year that we'll feel comfortable with, or you find somebody in the prep ranks that you feel really comfortable handing the keys to moving forward. So they'll have options, but I think he's a guy that can give them, 10 minutes a game maybe and spare Bennett Sturtz. But, Sturtz was playing 38, 39 minutes a game. So he just doesn't come out. But will that be able to be the case in the Big Ten? I think we'll find that out if he can continue to be an Iron Man like that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on that point, Tom. When do they begin their summer practices? I mean, I know Iowa State's like June 15th, 16th. Iowa, same timeline?
I actually ran into Coach McCollum in Council Bluffs last weekend, and at the AAU event I was at, and he said June 2nd they're starting practice.
Really? Wow! Right off the bat, next week.
Yeah.
Well, following week.
So
yeah.
And I actually did a podcast with Xavier Kerr, the player development guy, and the Fulgaris kid is from Robert Morris, is already on campus. So he's already been working him out, and just enjoys being around that kid, and just he's really super hardworking and putting in a lot of work. And he shared with me that he's gonna miss some. He's gonna be gone for part of the summer too, because he's got some obligations with the Spanish national team that he's going to be working with. So I think that made it even more important that he get on campus and get some work in with the coaches.
A week ago, we asked you, are they done? Do you get that feeling now with Williamson on tap that unless something kind of comes out of nowhere that they're finished up with recruiting?
Yeah, unless they could find a big, I think they're probably done. And the price tag for some of these guys, I mean, Giza kid was asking for 1.5 or something, or just something ridiculous. And I saw he was at Seton Hall the other day, and I've been, everything I've heard is Seton Hall's broke, so I don't know where they're going to get that kind of money, but maybe they're using some of their house money to get him. I don't know, but if he even ends up going there. But I think the price tags are just so high for bigs and point guards right now, and shooting. You name it.
It's all expensive.
It's expensive shopping right now, and good luck with that salary cap, everybody in the college sports. I'm sure that's just going to work out.
Yeah, when they get finished with that, go ahead and put this toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah. Not going to happen. So you were in Council Bluffs last weekend, watching some basketball over there, snapping pictures of McCollum, and a couple seats down there was Fran, which was a great snapshot.
Really? That's awesome.
Great snapshot that you had. One guy that intrigues me, though, is Isaiah Oliver. Waukee Northwest kid. His dad, Dean Oliver, of course, a Hawkeye great, running the prep program down in Norwalk. Isaiah Oliver, not a high D1 basketball player, but a football player. He's getting a ton of interest. He is yoked, and he's a lot stronger than his dad ever was, certainly. You had a chance to talk to Isaiah. What can he do? Fill us in on the details of his recruitment.
Yeah, he's an interesting football prospect. He's did well in track this year, qualified for state. I know he's been doing that this week, but football seems to be the option for him, and he's been to a lot of Iowa games. He's got all the really good FCS offers from North Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota, UNI have all offered him, but he's going to camp at Iowa State, and Northern Illinois in June, and I think he's probably like, just the way he's built and the way he moves, I could see him being a really good cash in Iowa system.
Okay.
But he played wide receiver, had 36 catches for 430 yards last year. I think he wants to be a wide receiver, but I think his future is at like cash or safety, and I think he's an intriguing guy. But the big thing I'm looking for is he going to get those offers? And that's he feels like doing track this year, which is something he hadn't really done in the past, just helped him with his speed and his athleticism, and he thinks that's going to help him at those camps.
Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, HawkeyeReport.com for Tom. Tom, you have a good weekend, bud. Appreciate what you do for us every single Friday, and we'll talk to you in 7 days.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Tom Kakert.
There he is, Tom Kaker from HawkeyeReport.com. Appreciate Tom's time as always. Talking recruiting and that big recruitment from the state of Iowa, football, basketball. That's going to be the big story here for us on Locked On Hawkeyes, and we'll talk about it next. A weekend edition, Locked On Hawkeyes, bonus edition. Stay right there. We're back with more in a moment. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Shout out to you everydayers being with us each and every day. Couldn't do it without you. Hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Just takes a moment. Or if you're listening on the audio side, a 5-star review. Let's get into it. And a name that is incredibly intriguing as it pertains to what is happening in the world of recruiting. So, Ben McCollum, obviously on the job. This is going through the recruiting process at this level for the first time. He was all over the place a weekend ago with the open recruiting period. They had staff in Ohio. They had staff in Council Bluffs, including that's where McCollum was for one of the spots. They bounced over, was it Indianapolis, I think was the other one. They're all over the place. And that's obviously what you want to see, right? I mean, you want to see that. But there's a name in the class of 2026. Going to be a senior next year. Arifan Dan, who is from Canada, African background, huge dude, number 35 in the country. And he plays for Iowa United. You might be asking yourself, Iowa United? I've never heard of Iowa United. Is that an AU program? Well, it is, but it's also a prep school. That's where we were just talking with Tom about Dean Oliver, what he's running. And the amount of investment that has been made to build this program, to put together what they're hoping builds into one of the top prep programs in the country. And this is one of their first big ads. Now, this is not going to be easy because with this young man, already he has offers from Houston. And if you saw the picture that I mentioned with Tom of Fran and of McCullum, and you see some of the other pictures that are out there of that game that they were both at, you also see the Houston staff, including Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson has been in Norwalk to meet up with them. Don't have that happen very often. The Kelvin Sampson's up here recruiting. That shows you, A, what they're building at Iowa United, but also what kind of prospect Dan is. I was offered. UConn's after him now. Hurley, I believe, offered the same day that McCullum did. It's a steep climb, and the finances are not crazy. However, more big picture, if this really does develop into something, this Iowa United program develops into a destination for high school players across the country to come in and devote themselves almost exclusively to basketball, this can be a great thing for Iowa. This can be a thing. It's not that they're going to get the top prospect every year. It's not that they're going to get even maybe the top couple every year. But even if it is that next tier of kid, even if it is getting guys that they normally wouldn't, that's advantage Iowa. Let's hope this thing works out. One thing I want to do this summer during our slow time of the year is I want to dive a little bit deeper into Iowa United and find what else is out there. Speaking of what else is out there, we're going to be talking a ton of football recruiting. That is going to be kind of the next chapter as we put Iowa baseball to bed. Up next is football recruiting. This is the time that Iowa's going to be making a whole lot of headway. State track finishing up this weekend. There's some incredible performances. Mason Woods, one of those guys who will be coming in this class. What a great athlete that he is in the long jump, going to have in there. But there was a ton of kids that were great. And one other name I want to mention to you, and we'll talk and have kind of a full recap when we get back after the weekend, is Braden Jackson. So, again, I know you've heard it. Every day you're sick of it. Call high school football every Friday night here in Central Iowa. And obviously saw a ton of Ankeny Centennial. Braden Jackson. This is Fred Jackson. Yes, the former NFL co-college star. Fred Jackson's son. And he was outstanding. So he was just offered a walk-on opportunity at Iowa and took it. He's putting together a great track season. And this dude, it's not very often you talk about walk-on running backs, but boy, I think he's got a chance. He is shifty. The offense that they run at Centennial, run-based, and there's parts of the system that are old school under the Pizzettis. But you saw some things out of him that make Braden Jackson special. Just a walk-on. Don't want to hype out a walk-on too much. However, keep an eye. Really think there might be something special there with Braden Jackson. We'll talk about that one down the line. We'll talk with you down the line. Coming back with you on Monday. Hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it. Difficult loss, tough one to swallow for Iowa baseball as they see their season come to a close. Just don't see a path for them to be selected for the NCAA tournament, unfortunately. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Until then, go Hawks.